Unless you're in Florida or you're closely following politics, you've probably never heard of Marco Rubio. But here's why you should pay close attention to this 38-year-old son of Cuban immigrants. He is giving Florida Governor Charlie Crist a run for his money. They're engaged in a Senate primary race that National Republican Party members thought was a natural lock for Crist. But Rubio just announced he's made more than $1 million, much of it raised from Florida conservatives, and he's rising in the polls as well, though he still trails by double digits. He just got a big boost from Conservative Political Bible National Review on the cover, and he's gotten money from Mike Huckabee's Political Action Committee, and he exemplifies the way underdogs seem to be shaking up key bellwether races. Marco Rubio joining us now for Happy Hour from Florida to tell us how he's turning the Republican Party upside down for the better, many say. Marco, thanks so much for joining us for Happy Hour. We're all excited to have you here. So you're the real Republican, huh?
Well, I don't know about that. Here's what I think. I think the Republican Party needs to get back to being what it was, which is a party of smaller government. And I know that's a slogan. You read that all the times now in the bumper stickers. But it really hasn't meant that for a long time. Really, the last 20 years has been a battle between the tax and spend Democrats and the borrow and spend Republicans. Both parties are guilty of spending money we don't have, and deficit spending not only threatens our currency in the long term, it threatens our economic viability and vibrancy.
Okay, so Mark, I was actually reading here that 67% of voters haven't even heard enough about you to form an opinion. So what is it that you're campaigning on here?
What we're campaigning on is that America is an exceptional society. There's never been a freer or more prosperous people. That's the result of a choice we made to have limited government, unlike the rest of the industrialized nations on earth. It's what sets us apart. And now we're being asked to choose. Do we want to be like everybody else, or do we want to continue to be the only place in the world where time and time again people open up businesses in the spare bedroom of their home and one day sell shares of that company on Wall Street? That's the country that I inherited from my parents. That's the country I want my children and grandchildren to inherit from us.
Hi, Marco. I'm from the conservative side. I happen to be a big fan of Governor Crist, who I'm still trying to figure out why he wants to be Senator Crist instead of Governor Crist. But let's go there for a second. What is it that you provide that he doesn't? I get all the Republican, smaller government, conservative stuff. I get that. But what is it that distinguishes you from a very popular man right now?
Well, first of all, I think there are policy differences. I think he's a nice guy just like you do. I hope he thinks I'm a nice guy, too. But here's the bottom line. He supports cap and trade. He supported the stimulus package. In fact, he's the most prominent Republican in the country to have campaigned for the stimulus package. I think those are two big differences. He just raised $2 billion in taxes and fees here in Florida. And the ultimate net of that is that I don't believe that's the direction our party should head. And more importantly, I think now more than ever we need to send people to Washington, D.C. that will stand up to the agenda of Barack Obama and of the leaders of the Congress, not cooperate with them on these things. And more importantly, that will offer a clear alternative. I don't think there's anybody in this race that will do that but me.
Okay, Marco, some big questions of the day that, we're facing as a country. Very tough questions on health care. How do you fix health care? And don't just say tort reform, because that's always the common go-to Republican question. And then jobs, and don't just say tax breaks, because, again, we've heard that many, many times. Your solutions on those two big issues facing our country.
Well, let me say first on health care, it's really not a health care debate we're having. It's a health insurance debate. And the question is, how do we insure 29 million people in America, or whatever the number is today, of Americans that don't have health insurance? And it's a complicated answer, but the truth is that I believe a vibrant private market where choices and flexibilities exist, where people can buy the coverage they need, the coverage they want, at a price they're willing to pay, and they can do so independent of their employer, should ultimately be our solution. I don't think the solution is to create a single-payer plan or a government option plan that ultimately will replace the private sector. It's more complicated than that answer I just gave you, but I think that's a direction we should head. As far as jobs, how are jobs created in America? Jobs are created when people decide to risk the money they have because they believe that they can expand a business or open a new one. And I think the two things we need to do to accomplish that is something like a balanced budget amendment. Number one, we have to stop spending money we don't have. Deficit spending is a drag on America's future and on people's faith in our currency and in our economy. And the second thing we need is tax reform, not just tax cuts. I agree with you. At a minimum, what we need in this country is dramatic tax simplification, in addition to the elimination of things like the death tax, the capital gains tax, and a substantial reduction in our corporate tax.
Mark, I want to jump in here, Smitty. I hate to do this. We have to get your opinion on this, being a son of Cuban immigrants. Where do you stand? Should illegal immigrants be provided health care?
No, I don't think health care is the issue with illegal immigrants. They show up at hospitals, and then the question is who's going to pay for them.
Should they be provided with, should they be allowed to
I don't think hospitals should turn away. No, listen, no, they should not be allowed to participate. First of all, I hope there isn't a public option, and therefore there's nothing for them to participate in. I don't think we should be turning people away from emergency rooms, but I think the real question that you're having is, how do we fix the immigration mess that America has? Because if we didn't have an immigration mess, this wouldn't be an issue. And the truth is that the Republican Party has become the anti-illegal immigration party. It should really be the pro-legal immigration party. And in order to have a legal immigration system that works, we have to first confront the illegal immigration problem we have.
Marco Rubio, thank you so much for joining us for Happy Hour. And please come back because we have a lot more questions we want to ask you. We had a short amount of time and it went by fast. Thank you very much.
It will.
Marco.
I'll be back. Thank you.
Okay.